It has been a hot minute since we've done a tier list, and I wanted the dust to settle on the changes made within the game as well as the meta playing out during tournaments and ranked. Tier lists are incredibly tricky, and no matter what, I know people are going to be unhappy as they are fans of their favorite legends. This is myself included. My mains are Wattson and Loba, and I had to drop them to places a fan would not necessarily want to see them in, but I had to be fair and consistent. The structure of the tier list will be ranking, why, pros of the legend, then cons of the legend, if applicable. We'll work our way from the lower placement to best placement, D being the lowest and S being top tier. Let us begin. In the D tier list, we have starting up Revenant. Why? Revenant not being able to wall bounce is pretty big, but also while silences are nice, the ultimate really has just been nerfed too much. But also when it's buffed, it's just not fun and disrupts the balance of the game. Revenant is a tough legend overall because Revenant shoots up to the top of the charts for a specific style of push. And some will say, even predictable. Even with Revenant's peak, it was a niche playstyle that is actually easy to punish against top tier pros and players. The pros is Revenant is a great way to build confidence when pushing with his ultimate ability and can be fun to really climb and outplay your enemies through your passive. The cons are this legend struggles to provide a lot of use to the team that other legends higher in the list would. The strongest argument is the ultimate ability, but once that is out, the team can really predict it and it actually really punishes your team quite harshly. This one's definitely a struggle. I know there's a lot of Revenant fans down there, so let me know in the comment section below what you think and how you would buff his ultimate. Rampart, D rank. Why? Rampart takes a high tier player to really master, and even when a really strong player uses her at a high tier rank, means she's going to struggle in terms of her utility. The game pushes mobility, getting in and out of fights, and that's going to be the theme of the video of what you see in the higher tier legends because there's a higher skill gap when it comes to being able to pretty much fly around and reposition. The pros are when her toolkit is used in the right hands, it's definitely a spectacle to behold. So again, I will say this, is that there's definitely should be respected a player who knows how to play defensively and capitalize on it. But again, a strong percentage of those players won't know how to do that. If you're one of these Ramparts, I really tip my hat off to you. The cons are is hunkering down as a Caustic or another legend can be way more effective. Her ultimate, while buffed, is easily countered. So many other legends have stronger ultimates, and is concerning when we used to remember her ultimate that used to just be planted when she couldn't even move. The problem with Rampart is that it mentions that if you buff her walls too much, it becomes like a mini Fortnite. You won't be able to blast past her walls. You notice at the bottom of the list, each of these legends are close to game breaking, and with the right push, they can be really next level. Seer, D rank. Why? Well, when we saw go from S tier when he first launched, and now he's really at the bottom of the list. Bloodhound is way higher in the charts, and if you see them both sit next to each other, a high tier player is going to pick Bloodhound 10 out of 10 times, and should be, honestly. Seer has just been nerfed way too hard and struggles to keep up, especially in the mobility area. If too strong, well, we're going to see nothing but a scan meta, and that is also not a good thing if every legend is 100% in demand. The pros, the ultimate ability is the greatest asset and provides for some unique fights. Seer has a more permanent way to look for opponents with their passive, but that leads to the cons. The cons with Seer being nerfed so hard that he lacks mobility with his massive nerfs, unless you just bunny hop like an absolute madman. Seer's tactical and ultimate are pretty game breaking when they're too strong, but lack any influence in the current meta when they're nerfed too hard. Let me know if there's any Seer mains still out there, especially how you're feeling about the nerfs. He definitely needs something, but I'm not quite sure what to give to his toolkit. Mirage D rank. Why? Mirage is just not a team player when it comes to a team-based game. Everything Mirage does, someone else can do better. Got a sneaky way to res? Well, you should pick a Lifeline. You get bamboozled by an opponent? Well, not just... You can bamboozle an opponent. Well, why not just reset and play with your team as a Wraith? Maybe you use Horizon's Tactical, maybe Pathfinder Reposition, and much more. There's other answers to the question rather than just using a bamboozle, especially when a player can predict a Mirage, especially the higher tier players. The pros is that Mirage can be a ton of fun though. Nothing is more satisfying than throwing off your opponent with a strong Mirage of yourself. This creates some high tier plays in the right hands. It's specifically niche outside of that master bamboozle. If you are that master, comment down below. You are a rare player to maximize on this toolkit. The cons? It lacks the team play we mentioned. Everything is just done better by other legends and could use some buffs and provide more team play and utility to his roster. There's so much to throw Mirage's way, and being one of the most unique legends, would love to see him play a larger role. Alright, let's segue to the C rank. This one always hurts to mention is Wattson C rank. Why? Well, I'm always going to be very critical because it is my main, and I love Wattson. As we discuss your utility, as long as Gibraltar is a high-ranked legend, he's just too strong to counter Wattson. His bubble temporarily breaks a line of fences and removes them from the equation. Players have really become smarter in countering her fences, and while she has been buffed, it feels more like her utility just has been fixed and just works. This is where I feel Wattson should have been more or less from the beginning. That is interesting because her replacement still has remained the same despite all the changes, and she has not gone up. The pros. Her ability to outplay opponents with fences is just really fun. I personally enjoy it, providing the utility that gives its users the ability to think, plan, and more. Because she's so fun is why she's my main. Her ultimate has tons of counters to other legends, but it just has a ton of counters back that are really strong against her. The cons as well is when Wattson gets caught out of position, well, she really gets caught out. That's the end of her. She does not have a tactical ability that can help her reposition. It's really just to hunker down and then hope that somebody crosses the fence. Her planning is her greatest asset, but with every other legend higher in the list, you struggle to answer the question why not Gibraltar or why not Caustic. She needs some mobility or a way to stop mobility outside of her fences. Perhaps a faster regen to mirror Octane, or perhaps a way to reset, maybe a faster res like Gibraltar when her ultimate is down. I love Wattson so much for her personality and toolkit, and just feels so special and provides a different way to play Apex. It's why she's used more currently, and she finally works, but she definitely needs something else to push her over the edge. Bangalore C rank. Why? She was one of our starting legends with her mobility speed boost she got, but as I learned the game from Season 0, we all moved on from Bangalore. Bangalore's ultimate is decent and has been slightly buffed, but others just do it better, especially we use infamously Gibraltar. When Wattson was meta, she was just overall weaker, but now as Wattson gets out of the meta, Bangalore has a lot more room to play. She just needs a good rework, and her smokes are strong but can be countered by an attachment anyone can get in the game. The pros? If you're a warlord like Shiv, you can't pass up on Bangalore. Be the warlord you are meant to be and dominate with your passive movement. Comment warlord if you are a bang main. You truly know how to bang. Alright, the cons. Give warlords a bit of love with a buff one day. I feel like she's probably one of the legends that has been touched the least, and maybe that's because her toolkit is great for what she does. I just feel like she gets pushed out these days. One change would be giving her speed from the start of the game. I wonder how it would do in the current meta today. Lifeline. Wife line mains are the rock of the roster, but why is she C? It is because her toolkit kicks in only if your team really struggles, or bluntly sucks. Realistically, you want teammates who don't die. Your res is overpowered in arena, but why lose your teammates in the first place? The pros? The ultimate carry legend and a way to get back into the fight, the perfect support player across the board, a great legend to teach on when learning the game. The cons? Some iterations of her early on gave more utility with her reset power, being rivaled by other legends, and the fact that other legends' toolkits are sometimes stronger drops Lifeline down, unfortunately. Crypto. C tier. Why? He needs a buff. He needs a buff. Am I right, Crypto mains? He is overdue for some love. It's been quite some time. He lives in the world of mobile legends where he is stuck playing his Game Boy. The pros? He can be one of the most power support legends in a fight, great entry damage with his ultimate, good information, strong reset potential with the drone, and grabbing banners. The cons? He lacks all mobility. To be a strong crypto main, you just gotta loot faster, you gotta keep up better, and position better than anyone else in the game. With the game catering to easy resets, this is just difficult for our crypto mains, trust me. There are some insane ones. I saw one in ranked just recently that I was just in awe over. That was an absolute god. They are out there, and when crypto gets the one day needed rework or buff, he's gonna shoot up instantly to A or S tier in a heartbeat, trust me. Let me know in the comment section down below how you would approach crypto's rework. Now let's go over B ranks. You'll notice some of the B ranks focus on verticality, and let's start with Horizon first. Why? Because verticality is important. The fact that it can be used for the whole team is a perfect move for our Space Mommy, one of the most offensive legends that has shown for so many streamers the potential to win a 1v1 encounter with ease and grace and separate opponents. The The pros, the potential of her tactical and passive movement while in the air when landing creates a high skill ceiling for Horizon mains, something no other legend can provide. The cons though is it needs to be a master of movement to keep her relevant within a fight. Sometimes she could be a little predictable in that when another high tier player knows her strengths. Her ultimate could use some power that most forget about. It used to be way more effective even in competitions. Remember how everyone early on used to sleep on Horizon, thought she was a weak legend? She was listed lower, and then individuals saw how strong she was in fights and was used in so many tournaments. Since then, she got nerfed and buffed back to some of her prior power. I called it then, and I stayed consistent with my messaging about her. The tactical movement in fight is unmatched when used in the hands of your entry fragger. Octane B rank. Why? Octane provides team verticality similar to Horizon, the fastest legend in the game, but he has a lot of downsides in being nerfed and adjusted constantly. The pros is Octane is fun, fast, aggressive, and has a great ultimate ability. Cons, the jump pad has just been nerfed a lot recently, from the overall height that you have to the audio being much louder, which 100% is very much needed, but also the stim has also been nerfed, taking additional damage to Octane, and is definitely a struggle because his regen also got a bit of a nerf. Octane is much better than he was at launch, but at his peak within the roster, which he lived around A tier, now gets dropped down to B tier due to all those recent nerfs. This is a similar story to Horizon, very similar. Fuse, B rank. Why? Grenades and more grenades, the most powerful utility that you can have in the game. Fuse is just slept on the power that he has to keep up pressure. The knuckle cluster just keeps popping up and has been buffed since his initial launch, including his ultimate ability. This moves him up from the prior C tier listing, living in current B tier. Pros, unless the pressure with holding additional grenades stacked upon the knuckle cluster, the cooldown timer, every bit of pressure from Fuse is just strong, and it should be recognized. The cons though is that because he's all grenades, it's not the necessarily most fun way to play Apex Legends. This is really the biggest thing I hear about Fuse. It's not because his toolkit is weak, it's just not always the most fun just to keep tossing grenades. Which is why I feel some consider him worse than he really is. But in arenas and ranked, his pressure is just unmatched. And if personally I overlooked it, this tier list would be flawed. Loba, B tier. Why? I want nothing more to move Loba to A tier. I feel she is underutilized across the board, specifically in tournaments and in ranked, and her power is just not recognized enough. We see her more now in tournaments with specific teams. The pros is that she's a great start to the round, getting you the great loot. Her tactical is great for repositioning, and provides a great endgame when starving out enemy teams. The cons are that her tactical could be much faster to match what Pathfinder does to move her to A tier. That is what I would focus on the most for Loba. Or perhaps her ultimate could grab banners. She is so close to A tier, and I personally would move there, but to be fair and consistent in this list, I have her at B. Again, just for the audience knows transparently, my mains are Wattson and Loba. Now let's move on to the A tier. A tier stands for Ashe. I don't know, just a punny line. Anyways, why I'm a Wattson main? Why? Aggressive, legend, balance right out the gate, strong ultimate repositioning, the passive is perfect for ranked, for fighting fights, great for pubs too. There's just so much of the pros and it's easy to defend her ranking within A. The only reason she's not S is that other legends take a better tournament spot than her and provide maybe just slightly more utility, and can't really think of any reason why she's necessarily weak. It's just that Wraith kind of does it a bit better. Valkyrie could do it better, Gibraltar, but that's not much of a con really. So she sits at A for now until one of those legends gets bumped down, and she may just get bumped right up. Pathfinder A tier. Outside the passive just not being really that great, no other legend is more mobile than Pathfinder. The pros, he's really the king of mobility and getting out of dodge with a high skill ceiling. The cons is this legend performs best depending on who plays Pathfinder. It can be harder for new players to maximize on being a good Pathfinder, but this just means you gotta learn Pathfinder. It's why I love playing Pathfinder myself, but everyone else lower in the list would be hard to argue against Pathfinder and his toolkit with his zip lines and scouting the area to take off angles. Caustic A tier. Why? Well, it's the gas. It's still unmatched in terms of doing damage and causing visual clutter. Wattson can't even compete with that type of stopping power. The pros, it can be one of the best ways to stop an aggressive team and buy you time. It's one of the best anchors in holding a building in the game. Nobody rivals Caustic. The cons, it's kind of a similar story to Fuse. It could be less fun to play, and some people just don't like playing the big boy, kind of like Gibby. There is really starting to be less cons as we go into the A rank. It's just a different play style. Caustic as well, some could argue that his gas is weak, but at the very high tier ranking, again, nothing beats the slow, visual clutter, and just even a bit of damage. No other legend does it. Alright, now let's move up to S tier, and we're going to have pretty much no cons, and a legend that provides just all utility. Gibraltar S tier. Why? What does he not do? Provides better lifeline res, fortified, the ultimate ability is aggressive, arm shield to block damage and breach, and provides the best cover for his brothers in terms of rotation. Cons? Maybe some people find him less fun, he's too big, but you really can't deny that toolkit. Valkyrie S tier. Why? The best rotational tool in the game for the team, amazing ability to take height and reposition, great at gathering information and scanning beacons. The only reason you don't play Valkyrie is you just don't like the toolkit. Otherwise, she controls the skies. She's not overpowered, she can be countered, but the kit is undeniably strong. Wraith S tier. The highest pick rate in the game currently, and makes sense why. Got a problem? Go into phase. Want to avoid homework? Go into phase. Want to avoid work? Go into phase. Want to win a reposition? Go into phase. The best reset in the game to avoid damage. It used to be even stronger, but still remains at S tier. Just imagine how Wraiths used to be with her tactical ability before. Perfect ultimate to reposition the team, and a great heads up with her passive ability. Not the strongest, but still great. It's hard to counter a player with great movement who plays Wraith. Now finally, last on our list, Bloodhound. They are truly the master of tracking, providing all information to the team. Better scans than Seer, and even with the nerfs Bloodhound has gotten, still gives the best information the team could ask for. Information. Bloodhound used to be one of the weaker legends, but since they buffed Bloodhound, they are just an absolute monster in a 1v1 when you hear the iconic ultimate scream. Well, that wraps up our tier list. How do you think we did? Leave a comment down below. I appreciate all of you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.